Morning. Have you had your coffee yet?
I have, yes.
Oh,
Well, green
excellent.
tea,
Very important.
actually.
Yes, very important. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the When It Works podcast. Today, I'm joined by the wonderful Alex Pujji in New York City. And I was talking to Alex about community marketing and how she's managed to cut lead and customer acquisition costs by 86% using this little bit of a pivot in what she's doing with her marketing. So, welcome to the show, Alex.
Thank you. So great to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be talking about this today.
Me too. And tell us, what is this community based marketing that is kind of bringing you different results?
Yeah, so the way that we define it at our agency is creating a community of your stakeholders and customers, and then promoting that kind of as the primary value proposition of purchasing from your brand specifically. What we're noticing is that the the competition is so high. The cost per impression and cost per click on most marketing platforms has skyrocketed over the last couple of years. And it's very, very hard to compete on product alone. We live in a world now of Amazon knockoffs and thousands of e commerce websites for most of our clients offering almost the same thing that they do. So, what we're really selling is being a part of a brand's community. And there are many different ways that we do that, but we found that that is much, much more effective.
You know, a lot of people, they are so absorbed in their business, and they think that their product is the greatest thing, and then telling people about the features and how it's going to do this and that, and people really don't buy based on that for most things. For some things, like whatever, selling fidget spinners on Facebook ads where you can see the product and want it. And can you give us some examples of how you have kind of put this community um, basis at the forefront, and what sort of businesses were they that you were doing it for, and how you did it?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the idea of marketing the kind of mission and values of your business is not new. And we've heard for decades now that marketing should not only be about your product. But I think what's new that's emerging recently is that we're seeing the real people behind brands, even the biggest brands. And that's been more effective than kind of the polished, produced, beautiful brand aesthetics that we've seen in the past. Um, so, for example, for most of our clients, for their Facebook ad campaigns, the highest performing content is user generated content. So that means that it's a real customer who purchased the product and filmed themselves, maybe unboxing it, maybe using it. Maybe they filmed a quick video testimonial just on their iPhone, selfie style. And the brand was able to repurpose that into an ad. And it's high performing because customers can actually see the real people that are using these products, get a sense for the community, the personality, the authenticity of the brand, versus just what the brand wants to put forth in a pretty presentation. For the franchise that I'm involved in, which is a craft studio franchise called Pinspiration, we've really, really leaned into that. And it's all about community in multiple ways. We've got a community of franchisees. We create communities at the actual retail locations where customers can come in and make crafts together. And then online, on the ads themselves, we create community. And one way we've done that is by, first of all, showing a video of what that community is like, and just actual footage inside the studio with real customers, but also the ads themselves are each a community, which I think is the amazing thing about social media advertising. We retain all of the comments, likes, and shares on an ad. And the longer we run those ads, the better they perform, which is kind of unheard of in the um, Facebook advertising space. We've all been told it's a news feed and you need fresh content, which is true, unless the value of the community on that ad is so high that it performs better over time, which is what we're seeing. So we encourage a conversation, we engage with people in the comments. I would say about half of the comments are people tagging a friend to join the community that's having a conversation on that ad. Um, so communities can be big things, or they can be very small kind of microcosms around a specific campaign.
Interesting. And so with this type of advertising, you're not necessarily pitching offers. You are showing a community and inviting people to join the community. Are you also having an offer in there?
So that's kind of the amazing thing, is that the ads actually often don't speak much to the typical value propositions or logical reasons of why you buy something, which I think is often a brand's kind of knee-jerk reaction. Is here are the 6 reasons that we're better than every other product and buy us now. The ads that are doing really well are more just someone talking about the value that something has in their life and showing a little peek into what it's like using that product. I still think that a call to action is important. So even if that's not as explicit as it used to be, having a very clear way for them to learn more, buy now, and typically that's in the form of some kind of a button or a caption. But I would say it's become secondary to just kind of showing, creating an emotional connection with the brand and the community behind it.
Interesting. So, what with your agency? What are sort of some of the clients that you mostly work with, and what were they doing on Facebook, and then how were they sort of switching over to this model?
Yeah, so we work with a lot of e-commerce brands. So our primary niches are e-commerce. We have some B2B lead generation clients, and then we also have done a lot of work in the franchise space. Um, E-commerce is probably the largest number of clients that we have are in the e-commerce space. I would say what they were doing before we got involved was often they would have these beautiful, beautiful photos of their product in a sterile photo shoot environment, maybe white backgrounds or a nicely curated fake home kind of environment. Um, and then they were having their graphic designer create these pretty looking ads and put them on Facebook. And there's nothing wrong with that, but they weren't seeing results from it. And so oftentimes it can be challenging because we come in and we say, actually, we want the founder to create a TikTok style video that you're going to film on your iPhone, talking just passionately about why you started the product. And we're going to edit it in a way that any of your clients or customers could edit themselves on TikTok or Reels. And it's going to look like something that was made within the platform. Um, and brands aren't always quick to adopt that. Oftentimes, it's a struggle because they want to put this pristine image forward. They've spent a lot of time curating what their brand should be about. Um, and there's a few reasons why brands are afraid of this more community focused marketing. One is that they kind of don't have control over their own story anymore, and they're letting it be created by their customers and by the real people behind their brand. And then once you start creating that sense of community, your customers can actually control the narrative and maybe will say things that you don't want said about your brand. And if you have problems, those are going to come to the forefront. And so, and then on top of that, it's really, really time consuming. It's a lot of time spent connecting with and nurturing relationships with your customers. So we explain all of that to our clients, but when they see the results, it's very powerful. I mean, we see cost per acquisition cut in half or even lower, down to 10, 15, 20% of what it was previously from implementing these strategies.
And you mentioned TikTok, but are you mostly advertising on Facebook, or are you putting these types of UGC content on TikTok?
No, so we're advertising on many different platforms right now, and actually post iOS 14, which was Facebook's privacy update,
The
which made it,
apocalypse.
yes, made it very difficult for us to track on Facebook. We saw that our cost per acquisition on Facebook just shot up overnight. Every agency experienced it, every brand experienced it. It's come down a bit from there, but it's still probably 25, 30% higher than it was pre iOS 14 update. Um, we started exploring a lot of different platforms. It's been for almost 10 years now that Facebook was always the cheapest cost per acquisition. And that's just not the case anymore. We're seeing great success on TikTok, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Twitter. And what we're doing is we're putting out that community-based marketing on many different platforms and seeing where it resonates. Every brand community is different in where they spend their time. And we have to test it out and feel where that community is. And most importantly, speak to them in the language of that community. That's the other thing that we see brands doing wrong often, is that they'll make an ad asset and put out the exact same ad asset on every single different platform. And you can't put a polished video ad on TikTok or Instagram Reels. It just doesn't work. And the language of Twitter is very unique, and the language of Pinterest is extremely unique. So making sure that when you're participating in the community, you're doing it in the way that your customers participate in that community.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, speaking in their language and not being so stressed out about being polished. It's a different way of doing it, and it just has authenticity to it, doesn't it? When people, you can shoot it with your iPhone, and if there's some real, passion there, it comes across, and that's what people want now, isn't it?
Yeah, and what I think is really interesting is you're seeing, especially on TikTok, that brands are being transparent about who's behind the brand. So you see more and more memes that are the a big brand like Southwest Airlines posting something like, "Hey, please like this, or I'm going to get fired from my social media job." And you never would have seen that a few years ago. It would have been unprofessional, but people are like, oh my gosh, there's a real person posting for this brand who cares about engaging with me. And it actually works. And brands are having conversations with each other, which they also never used to do publicly, where multiple brands are commenting and having fights or banter on comment sections. And I think it's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, we really, people out there listening and watching, there's been a shift in marketing and advertising. And, Alex was talking about it, not only the iOS update, but people have changed in what they want and what they respond to. So I think that learning how to do this type of community-based content and getting a campaign across, different platforms as well. Maybe some of you have been doing Facebook primarily. I think it's worthwhile having a chat to Alex. What's the best, the first port of call is via the website?
The first what?
Port of call, the first step in contacting you?
Yeah, you can contact me on the website. Our contact page goes directly to me. And yeah, we'd love to talk to you about this.
Wonderful. Well, I'm going to have to keep this one short and sweet. Thanks for coming on, Alex. Some good info there. I'm going to check out what you're doing and have a look at some of your ads, and because it's for quite an interesting topic.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Julian.
No worries. Have a great day, and thanks for watching and listening, everyone. And I'll see you very soon on another episode.